Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, as HRB, our Historic Resources Board meeting has been canceled. There is a notice to the public to that effect, due to the fact that we don't have any business for the Historic Resources Board tonight. So with that said and done, we are going to move on to the regular Planning Commission meeting. And let's have a roll call. Thank you.
Ernest Franco is excused. He called in earlier. Darlene Boyd.
Here.
Scott Friel.
Here.
Dave Madera.
Here.
Shirley Brewer.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. We are now open for public comment. Does the public have anything that they wish to bring forward to inform us about? Okay, guess not. So we have informal project review is next. So any potential projects out there that applicants would like to present, just to get some feedback. Okay, and I don't see any movement for that. Action items. Okay, we have approved the affidavit of posting agenda, approved minutes for July 10th meeting 2018, and approved minutes for the March 6th meeting 2018. We have already noted on the March 6th meeting a couple of minor errors that we now have a draft of. So I would like to pull the others, the originals, and put this one in its place for approval, if that is correct.
So moved.
Okay. Second. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it for that. Are there any corrections or anything else that anybody wants to modify for the meeting? Minutes.
No, we just approved it. Just approved it.
Okay, we just approved it. Got it. All right. Let's move on then to. Is it me that's getting feedback?
The volume's up pretty loud.
Yeah, the volume is up pretty loud.
I think you're right.
The big one.
The volume's turned up a bit. Mics is close together, you'll get the feedback.
Okay.
See if that one works. Wait, we're talking.
Am I?
That's better.
Okay, well, mine was off. I apologize. Okay, let's look at discussion items. The monument sign and city gateway says Bob Quaid in the San Juan Bautista Community
Business Association.
Thank you, Community Business Association have submitted this.
Did you have that in there? Community business? This one says SJB
Committee president, yeah, but it is the Community Business Association.
Oh, it's a new name?
Yes, they changed their name
Oh.
a little bit ago. And
We're still the San Juan Committee, but we're doing business as Community Business Association.
okay, thank you for that clarification. So, did you want to present anything about that?
Yeah.
Come on up. Identify yourself for the record.
Does staff have anything to say? Introduce or?
I could just go ahead and give a brief overview. Thank you
Okay.
very much, Commissioner. Ladies and gentlemen, Todd Kennedy, City Planning, City of San Juan Development staff here. Yes, myself and Bob Quaid met, and we went over several sketches. And one of them in particular, the one that you see on top on the main picture, or the first picture in your packet, that is the preferred one by the committee when they met and after had a full 4 sketches. And we discussed, yeah, and We discussed it. It would have to be cross-checked with the sign code and so forth, and that's what would trigger a further action item down the road. Right now, tonight is just a conceptual drawing, just to check and see if the commission has any feedback or any information they would like to see. The location is proposed at the Windmill Market complex right there in that open area on the private land where the area, the ground kind of rises up near the intersection of the Alameda and State Highway 156. So that concludes my briefing for tonight, and be happy to answer any questions you may have, or if Bob can go ahead and present, that'd be good. Provide more information.
You're saying, wait, just the sign's going to go up on the property of 301?
301 Market Street, or 301 the Alameda.
Within the property line, not on the state highway or whatever?
To the best of my information, that is correct. However, the applicant, Bob, can definitely describe more information.
Okay.
So Bob Quaid, 160 Lang Street, and I'm not the president of the Community Business Association, I'm the treasurer, so just a correction on your...
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, so just to give you a little bit of background. So back when Rancho Vista was being proposed, the San Juan Committee, under the leadership of Rachel's husband, Richard Ponce, had met with the developer and got him to pledge $25,000 for a monument sign. And so that $25,000 was to be paid when the first building permit was issued. So that was under, what was it, Bob, what was his name?
Fulton.
Bob Fulton. Bob Fulton was the developer of the property. When he sold the property to Meritage, I guess is the builder out there, he sold that obligation.
Okay.
So when the first building permit was issued, Meritage was to pay $25,000 for a monument. The city has billed Meritage, and I'm assuming Meritage has paid the $25,000 because they've issued more than one building permit out there already. So I'm assuming the funding's there now, the $25,000 for a monument sign. So back when we first started planning this, we formed a citizens committee and met with, and we may have come before the planning commission. Richard may have come before the planning commission with a conceptual drawing, and that proposed sign was to go on the opposite corner there, that the city owns the property. And so it was a much bigger sign, taller, and they were going to bring in fill to fill the land and to put the sign up higher. In getting some architectural drawing, that's when Roger Grimley was the city manager, and we thought it was approved to some degree, but it wasn't. It was never approved. So in looking at the cost of that sign would be more than the $25,000. So we then contacted Jim Gibson and about the idea of possibly putting a monument sign over there. And Jim has agreed that he's willing to for a monument sign. And so he contacted the sign maker, and these drawings you see here are the conceptual drawings of the sign maker that Jim has contacted to come up with an idea. We gave him what our design was, and he's come up with these designs. These aren't set in stone.
They're just paper.
They're paper, right. And so that the reason we're coming here is to get your input, get input from the community to see what the community wants and what you guys, any input you guys have. The sign that we liked was the first one. Yeah, and we thought about, instead of the wood planks, that it'd all be the adobe looking on that one, not just the wood plank. So any of these can be changed. Anybody else you guys have anything to say? Or do you have anything to say, Jim?
I think we're going to try to go with the lettering for the San Juan Batista and maintain the bell, the historic bell. On our logo, the San Juan Committee's Lift Your Spirit logo, kind of go with that lettering.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it is
The logo, okay, the logo that you have on the Lift Your Spirit.
Yeah, it's up on the wall there.
Oh, yeah, right here.
Bring it forward, please.
Is that removable?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so the lettering of the San Juan itself, or,
San Juan
okay,
Bautista
got it.
lettering instead of this lettering?
Go with the branding that we did at San Juan.
Okay, so you want that lettering instead
So
of
that
this?
B is gonna look, the B in here is gonna look like that B right there.
Yeah,
And the letter A, so forth, yeah.
These are just rough drawings, this isn't the final. We
Okay.
come back and submit the final,
Okay,
you know.
all right. Does anybody have any comments about this or discussion?
Is this going to replace the existing windmill sign?
That's a good question. Yes, Mr. Gibson, come on forward and identify yourself for the record.
That's fine.
Well, yeah, Bob came, the committee came to me because my impression was that they didn't think that the sign on the other side of the street due to where it would be located would impact, the impact that they wanted.
Yeah, well, it's at the lower ground and they have to probably deal with the trench there.
If you go out there and look, we jet out and towards the highway. I'm not exactly sure where the sign will be, but we can put it out closer to the highway. And I told him that when we originally built the Windmill Center, we had, I mean, that was 3 years, you can imagine, San Juan Bautista. World War II was short in comparison to the approvals on that center. So, but, you know, there were good things that were accomplished there, and one of the things that was accomplished, or one of the things that came out of it, I don't know if it's accomplished or not, was the historical, I don't know exactly what his title was, but he was brought in from mine. And he thought, because our original concept of the center was mission style. And he said, you know, that he didn't like that idea. He said it should be more Western storefront.
Who's he?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, this was 5 years ago.
Windmill.
I mean, I can find out.
Was this when the city manager?
No, this is back when they.
This is in.
This was when the windmill was
You talk
being
about the windmill
proposed.
market in
Oh, when it was
Talking
being,
about the development itself.
the windmill
So
itself,
that's
okay.
over 25 years ago. Anyway, so that's all in the EIR. You probably have a copy of it here in the city somewhere. But that was his recommendation, and he had seemed to me to have some pretty good points in there why it shouldn't be mission style. So I told Bob, based on what we have there, it doesn't really, blend in. I mean, he had brought the monument to me, so I told him, but I would, I'm not really happy with the corner as it is, the signage as it is. As it turns out, as far as retail goes, we only have really two retails there that have some major impact. Most of it's office is the way it turned out. I mean, I just got lucky. I was thinking retail, and it turned out the office was good. So that's kind of the post office, and we have, we've got real estate in there. So it kind of changes over time. And most of it's office. We stay full most of the time, so who cares? But the windmill itself has adequate signage on the barn.
Yes.
So, I mean, the windmill doesn't really need signage. And so the only other one there that I would have, that has to be accommodated by me is the pizza. So what I told him is I thought, and I've thought for years, that somehow in all the history of this town, I know most people here are history buffs, but success in this town is related to actual traffic. I mean, traffic, whether it was horse and buggy or whatever it was. I mean, the successful periods, and even up until the bypass in the 60s, the traffic came right through the town. It used to be 7 gas stations or whatever it was, all at the same time. So my idea was, when we first did that development, I think there was an average of 5,000 cars a day. When we did the EIR, it's in there. Someone wants to look it up. If I could find my copy, but I probably could eventually. As I recall, it was 5,000. I don't know what it is now, but I would guess 20,000. So, I mean, if we have all these meetings about economic this and economic that, well, how do you make a connection between the historical downtown and the traffic that passes through? I mean, economically, it's a fantastic opportunity. We do benefit from that. not to our signage, but over time, we've developed quite a bit of trade on the highway, it's a key to our, I'm talking about success, mainly the windmill now.
Yes.
The pizza part, the windmill market itself, which we also want to do. So I told him, I think really you gotta, what I would think is, fine, let's have a nice welcome to San Juan or whatever. But I think you ought to advertise, in turn, the main emphasis ought to be trying to get people off the road and into town for food and beverage. I mean, what do those people? Tourists come and the mission is great, but compared to the food and beverage sales that potentially exist on that highway, it's just peanuts. So and even if we got a very small percentage of those people that, what do we have to offer? I mean, a lot of places like there's a couple places off Highway 5. They try and be old towns. They go through a lot of trouble to make themselves look like ours does naturally. So, I mean, if you really want business to increase there, so my idea was to actually advertise downtown businesses, not to have a generic sign that says, roast beef this way or something, but or say Doña Sarah's or the new coffee shop or the wine tasting barrel, whatever the name of that is. If you could have a sign like it shows there, I mean, I don't know about this. The old town was my idea. I think that's commercially that's a better idea than.
Can I ask you why you think Old Town is a better idea? Because we have been branded as a city of history.
I think history. As on a commercial, if you're talking about a commercial sign, you took history on there. It's just you're going to put everybody to sleep. It's just like commercially, you've got this. Let them know. Old Town works, in my opinion. This is my opinion. I'm just one guy. Old Town. That strikes a different. I'm not saying it has to be Old Town. You can put history on there, but I'm saying if you really want it to work commercially, you would probably be better off with something like Old Town, because people driving by will connect that more with what they're mainly going to be interested in. They're not going to be interested on the 99.99% of people that we might pull off that road. They're not really interested in touring the Mission, touring the downtown, but it would be a place where they, over time, just like they have with the windmill, could learn to do that business. Because I think I know a lot of the business is people going by over and over again over a period of years. They may not come 2 or 3 times a year, but times that by thousands, and then you gradually build a trade. So at least, I'm sure there are many of them that just don't know what we have to offer. We already have, the food and beverage.
Okay, well, I think I'd like to talk to maybe a marketing person about that, just to see.
Anyway,
Thank you for your input, Jeannie. Yeah. That's very helpful.
All right.
Okay, can I ask Bob a couple questions? I'm just curious as to the approximate height and length of this sign. It doesn't have any dimensions on it.
I thought we had 12 to 14 feet.
I think the tallest one is 12 feet.
Yeah, 12
feet high?
Yeah.
At the apex, I'm not really sure what you're doing, but I think the one I'm thinking about is the tallest of the 5 or 6 that the gentleman submitted was.
They can be any height that you feel is appropriate.
Okay, well, I was just curious because there were no dimensions on it.
Yeah, and then that'd be in the final design. That's part of input from the commission and the public.
Okay. My other question has to do, because you had mentioned wanting to put the separate businesses on the same sign with the Old Town San Juan Bautista sign, or the historic San Juan Bautista, whatever we determine we're going to call it. I almost think that's a distraction. I don't mind having the other businesses listed somewhere, but I'm not sure that I would put it right next to the sign that actually just identifies the city.
I had concerns with that too. That was my initial reaction. But then the more I thought about it, and I know some people will disagree, but part of the sign is, like Jim said, is to get people off the highway. Get people off the highway into the town. Will just a monument sign do that? I don't know. It might, but I think if you're showing, that, there's wine tasting or there's a coffee shop, and people know that, then they see that on the highway. The people that haven't come into downtown, they'll see that and say, oh yeah, okay, let's go down and try out that 18th Barrel and see what they have, or let's try Vertigo's or Hardines or Donya's, whoever is listed on the sign.
Well,
So in that regard, yeah, I think they can be a distraction, but that's part of advertising. It's a distraction to get you off the highway and get you into town.
okay. So what if the businesses change?
Well, then you change the sign. They're not permanent on there.
Okay, I'm just curious as to.
No, they're not permanently. Unless someone wants to pay a lot of money for a permanent marker on there that
Okay.
will never be changed.
Because I notice in the other photos that you have with the current sign that's there, there's actually another sign off to the side that kind of shows, kind of advertises a little bit more generically businesses, but I thought, something
I
like.
think that's the advertising marketing.
Yeah, well, we're talking about,
But I was thinking this could maybe have the more specific businesses on it, something like that.
well, I think if you're
Rather-
talking about basically an index sign, I don't know about that. Well, what I would say, in answer to your question.
Come up to the mic. Sorry.
Yes, come up to the mic, please. Thank you.
You had asked a question, I think, before I started talking about what would happen to the existing signage. Well, that would be removed, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So we clean up the whole corner. We might want a small sign, maybe 6 by 10 or something, at the actual entrance to our driveway to advertise the pizza company.
Yes, or whatever businesses.
Yeah, whatever, or some other retail. Other than that, for me, the idea is have something that looks good, that everybody can be proud of, but also actually advertises individual businesses in town. Now, they could, if they wanted to, they would pay for the privilege. We talked about how that would be, if there was, they would actually pay for the sign. I mean, whatever size that sign was, I'm assuming.
For one of the spaces. is what
Yeah,
you're
for one
saying.
of the spaces.
Yeah, okay.
And have it constructed, but that would all be, as we currently are talking about, with the committee itself. It wouldn't be with me, and they would use that income to maintain the sign over time, because they do have to be maintained.
Well, would that be like an annual fee or something?
Yeah, the annual fee.
Oh, okay.
Be like a business.
To advertise, put your name on here.
Yeah, when you're finished, I have a couple questions.
Okay. Go ahead, Scott.
And it's to the advertising board, and then, so each individual business will pay for that advertisement?
Yes.
And then, who are they paying?
San Juan
Here, Bob, come on up to mine.
Community Business Association. San Juan Committee.
The San Juan Committee.
Yeah, I get that, I'm just thinking of here. So the $25,000 that the developer
That's to
gave.
build the sign.
Okay.
A portion. It's-
I got a question. The $25,000 that the developer gave, did he give it to the city of San Juan Bautista, or did he give it to?
Build a monument.
Who did he give it
To
to?
the city.
And then the city is giving it to,
The city is building a monument sign.
Okay,
okay,
thank you.
But the San Juan Committee orchestrated the donation.
I'm sorry?
The San Juan Committee orchestrated the donation to build a monument sign.
So when you
Can I
sell,
get a couple more, please? Can I
Yes.
please finish? Yeah.
Go ahead, Scott.
And then that was one of the questions on, how much is let's say the sign you want with the, what's
I'm
that
not sure
gonna
of the
cost?
exact cost. It won't be the $25,000.
That would be I've talked to the sign maker now. I don't know, it depends on how elaborate you get, but none of those signs would be $25,000.
And then so let's say it's 20,000, where's the other 5,000 go?
We could put a monument sign someplace else, on the other side of town, or over by down by the Monterey,
Or Valero Station or something.
by the Valero Station area.
I see, okay. What's wrong with the existing sign? The
What
welcome
exists?
to,
There is no existing monument sign.
no, not a monument, but the sign that's there, the welcome to history, the one that's,
It's out there.
what's the one that's already in place, right here? What's, what was wrong with that one?
Nothing wrong with it, just in my opinion, the sign that you could never be better and better. It would serve us just as well, the corner would look better, and it would serve the downtown also.
Oh, okay.
For me, it's...
So you're okay with that going away?
Yeah. I mean, I might...
It's a cool,
No, actually, I would...
I think
keep
it's a
one
cool
of them.
sign, so.
I was thinking about putting it on the interior wall where the health clinic is. There's a wall big enough for...
Oh, good idea.
And then we still have one, somebody that can use for it, they can have it.
So back to the donation, so it's called the donation, it's not in lieu of fee, it's a donation. They're calling it a donation.
It was a fee. I don't, since they paid the city, I don't think it's a donation, it was a fee.
Yeah.
It was, originally I thought it was to be paid to the San Juan committee, but in looking at the contract that Roger wrote up, it was to be paid to the city. But it was for a monument.
And we have that money?
Right now, at this point, I'll have to look into that. At this time, I have no information about that.
They were billed for it about a month ago. The developer was billed about a month ago. So I'm assuming it's been paid. I'll have to double check.
And that's the second one, not the original guy who bought the property and then got it approved and sold it off.
But when he sold the property, he sold that obligation. That obligation was sold. The new owner bought that obligation because it was part of the development agreement.
Okay, be nice to see that development agreement.
Yes.
I would like. Can we see that? We really like to see that.
Well, Scott, you got to remember, this is not an action item tonight. You don't make any decisions tonight.
I know, but I will make a
story.
decision somewhere down the line, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to get as much information as I can on it. I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but it doesn't seem like that current developer is following some rules right now. So I'm just worried that he's not going to, or they are not going to pay. So
I have no doubt he's going to pay because it's part of the development agreement, and I'd be surprised if it hasn't been paid already.
Well, we're going to have
we'd like
Mr. Kennedy do
that would
some
be nice.
research.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Anybody else have, David, did you have some questions?
I got many questions, and it's not I'm asking for the city of San Juan Bautista, being I'm put in this position to do so. So we're saying if there's any fees that are going to be collected, it's going to go to the city.
No, it's going to go to the San Juan committee for the advertising.
Very informal at this point, just a coffee table discussion is all it was, so it's not like we have some proposal, I mean, if you have some other ideas.
No, I just want to, I'm trying to put it out there so that we can.
Yeah, the proposal is any advertising fees will go to the San Juan committee.
And that money was going to be done, what are you going to do with that money when you get it?
Oh, I was planning to go to Hawaii, I think. We're going to do the same thing with the money that we collect for other things. We're going to promote San Juan Bautista.
Okay.
Whether it's to maintain that sign, pay for advertising that we do in some wine and travel magazines, any publicity that we do, operate the Welcome Center in town here, it's to promote San Juan Bautista.
Okay, thank you for the record.
Okay.
The other thing too is it going to be lighted for at night?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to have to be exterior. Yeah, I mean, it would be lit from the exterior. You don't allow interior lighting. So I would assume that it would be lit from the ground toward up with floodlights or floodlights.
Okay, so that's part of the design is put in some lighting for whatever reasons for at night. So the design itself, what are the materials?
Well,
I mean, if we're thinking of where we're going to go with this idea, what are the materials that we're thinking to use for this?
My understanding is it would be large in the sense that maybe 12 by 12 cement foundation with piers of some sort, and then plywood. We're talking about the adobe itself and the adobe over the plywood. I'm not sure what the material would be. It wouldn't be, it would look like adobe. I don't think it would actually be adobe. Then as it's currently constituted in that drawing there, the signs on either side, which would be advertising, which I like because it is separate. I mean, architecturally and everything, it kind of sets it away from the monument sign a little bit. But then that would be similar to the in materials to the sign that's out there now, not this Welcome to San Juan sign, but the sign that we use to advertise what's available at the window there, mainly.
Okay, and then so now we're thinking of putting a monument sign that it's owned by the city, but it's going to go on private property. Is there any legal ramifications of that down the road? You know, I mean, can we walk on that property as city employees versus, you know, what do you know, is there going to be any legal ramifications that it's going to be on private property because the original monument sign was going to be on city property?
Well, it'd be like any other sign. I mean, whether it's appropriate for the committee or the city to run it, whether you would prefer that I ran it or the property there ran it. I mean, it's going to be a city-approved sign under any circumstances. And you're going to have probably a 2-page list of do's and don'ts and blah, 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 and it all have to be done that way. But I don't think, I mean, if the city attorney, say, somewhere down the line recommends that, you know, I don't think that's an obstacle to get it done, really. It's just I told them that would be better than, you know, for them to do it, but, you know, we would be willing to do it if that was the case.
Right, I mean, if you, the owner, changes ownership, and, I mean, what's going to be the guarantee that the city will remain in possession of that, as far as being that they paid for it and what have you?
Well, we'll probably have to get the city attorney to work up a contract.
Yeah.
So that's something we'll have to work out with the city attorney.
Yeah, as part of the permit process, I think, we need to really look at that and make sure that we do have control over that eventually.
Well, that brings up tourists, because sometimes I know when I go to other cities, like Avalon, for instance, I like to have my picture taken in front of the city sign saying, "Here I am." So, you know, whether it's going to be accessible for tourists to maybe do that.
We're going to charge for that.
Oh, good. You're going to have a little, good. You have a kiosk out there.
No, people walk out on that windmill grass right now. I don't think they're restricted.
A lot of dog walking,
Dog glue. You got to be careful then. Okay.
I have one more comment.
Sure.
If I could, just wondering.
I'm not through yet.
I certainly apologize then, sir.
It's okay. My question too is, why call it Old Town? This is San Juan Bautista. It's known for its mission. It's known for its tourist attraction. The Old Town or downtown is beautiful. It's wonderful. It's historic. I understand that. But are we going to cause some kind of conflict, or when it comes to, is this a mission town or not, or is it just an old town? How do we merge the two together so that we kind of unite that in such a way that it's a good business for everybody, including the state park?
Well,
see, I thought when I was helping out with that committee that we were going to have a place to go to. You were talking about attracting people. And if it was going to be on that side where we were going to put a park atmosphere on the other side for people to park there. When they're parking and picnicking or looking over, they will have some signs there about all the businesses and what to do in San Juan, like a kiosk of some sort.
that's certainly possible.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying where we're going to go with that with this sign.
That's feasible, and then the size of that. Some things we ran into the size of that sign, and then the kids coming from school there, possibly them climbing on that sign, it becomes a liability issue stuff. And so we have concerns with that sign at that location. That, you know, if we could fiscally do that, yeah, that's the way to go probably. But I'm not sure if it's fiscally.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying we were at one time, or you were at one time, going in that direction.
Right.
And yet you're coming up with private property instead of city property and expenses, what have you. Do you have a rough estimate what the cost is going to be if it's not going to be $25,000? And what's going to be done with the extra money that you're going to have left over if the city indeed get $25,000?
I don't think it would cost any more than 15, but that's just my opinion.
Okay.
But and as a city, then we could look at possibly, I don't know if they're still gonna do the roundabout on the other side of town. When I talked to Michelle, she talked about, we possibly need a monument sign at that side of town. There, at the roundabout, or possibly over by the Valero gas station, to try to get people to see the sign down that way. So there's other possibility. Yeah, we're not gonna take the money
The
and,
developer's building a sign down there.
go off and do something else with it. It's for, in the development agreement, it's for a monument sign, so I think we have to stick to that.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think, what I like to hear, for the record, let's just put it on, let's document it so we can go in those directions should the opportunity come up with the roundabouts and what have you, because we're gonna have two of them pretty shortly here, and hopefully maybe on the Alameda.
Maybe the roundabout out on the highway down there, maybe we could put something out there even.
There's also thinking of putting a roundabout on Vineyard Road out there, off of Lang, yeah.
On where?
Where Lang will come over to the Mission or the Salinas Grade Road. There was plans to bring Lang all the way over, and there would be another roundabout there.
It's not, Bob. Not anytime soon.
Well, I'm going to say it for the record because it was brought up and it was discussed previously.
Well, I just read that property was just sold down there, that lot down there. Someone just bought it. But I was talking about the roundabout. There's going to be another roundabout on 156 on Bixby.
Yes.
One down there. So possibly you can put a monument sign, San Juan ahead.
That's right.
That too, or you can put it on the Alameda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Shirley, did you have something you wanted to say? Are you finished?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I might have some other questions, depending on what I hear from you.
Just very briefly, maybe we could utilize this Welcome to History sign, because I really think that's really cool too. Utilize that at one of the other entrances at some point instead of putting it inside.
Well, there's two sides to it. I think you were going to put one side inside.
Just food for thought.
Yeah, I mean, all this, that was my thought, as far as being the actual owner of the sign, that I would make use of one side, but that's not.
That's not
I
something.
mean, if the city had a better use for it, and they really wanted it, then we could talk about that. But, the only thing is, you're right about private property and the mix and all that. It is a little,
sticky wicket.
yeah, a little bit. I don't think it can't be done, but anything that goes out there, I'm gonna have to be happy with as the property owner.
And we want you to be happy.
Yeah.
As a town.
Yeah. So we'll have to work through it that way. But these signs here would be fine with me, at least as permanently drawn or whatever. That doesn't mean I wouldn't approve of something else.
Okay. Well, I would like to possibly have another friendly conversation, or what did you call, courtesy conversation about this with you guys. Maybe two planning commissioners and the San Juan committee, so we can just sit down and kind of work through this kind of a little more before we bring it back for a formal review.
I have a couple of public comments as well.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Finn?
Rachel Ponce?
Rachel Ponce. In November of 2015, the Planning Commission passed a resolution accepting the monument sign. You pass those down?
Absolutely. There you go.
In looking at that sign, I think the signs that you have in your packet, I think sign number 3.
I don't know if they're numbered.
Which is this one with the bell tower. Okay, I would ask that you consider that sign, that design, being taking into consideration the original sign of the monument. You can see that the bell tower is prominent, and I think that in design number 3 that's being proposed, I think that goes more with the original monument sign. The whole idea of procuring the $25,000 from Bob Fulton was an economic development project to promote San Juan. And I think that we need to promote San Juan in a very positive manner and promote the historical part of San Juan that is the asset of San Juan. And I think that changing the wording of Old Town to City of History is much more appropriate and in better taste. And one of the things that I would ask you to take into consideration and really think about it, the original monument sign was put together by a group of community members that collaborated to come together with this sign. It was not one individual sign. I want to make that perfectly clear. It was a collaboration of several community people that also had the same vision of promoting San Juan and working at the historical part of San Juan. I think that people come to the mission, and after they come to the mission, they want to walk around, they want to shop, they want to eat. I don't think that people come necessarily to eat and then go to the mission. And I think that we have to remember that our asset here in San Juan is the mission, and I really think that design number 3, that the tower is more prominent, is a much better sign for where it's going to be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other?
Carl.
Thank you, Carvonk, 609 3rd Street. I'm going to weigh in on the discussion.
Okay, thank you.
First of all, I love the Welcome to History sign. I'm really very disappointed to hear that it's going to be taken down. I just think it's beautiful, it's unique, it's kind of funky, you know, it kind of fits the town. I do agree with Mrs. Ponce. I'm not sure about the Old Town part of it. To me, that sounds really boring. And, you know, there are a lot of other places that have like an Old Town, so I agree. I think it should be City of History, which is our you know, logo. Also, it was mentioned that the whole windmill complex, it's western front, and I know that there were original designs that made it look more like Adobe, like the Mission. I just wonder how that's going to integrate with the windmill market complex. And just as an aside, I believe that, although it's not really relevant to this, the windmill complex does have a uniform sign program. All the signs are supposed to be in the same style. What else? I don't know. You know, maybe a more Western style would fit in, but again, that wasn't the original concept. Anyway, I agree with most of the things that Mrs. Ponce mentioned as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments? Okay, Mr. Gibson, come forward, please.
Just briefly that, you know, I did not seek this opportunity. they came to me because they weren't really happy with, my understanding was that they would prefer it in our corner. So they just asked if I would entertain that idea, and I said yes, so that's where I got involved.
Well, I appreciate that because I do think your corner is probably a lot more visible. Yeah. Any other comments, Trish?
No.
Okay. Anybody else up
Can I
here?
just get comments from you guys, what sign design you guys like? Just get some feedback from that, or?
Okay, Dave, do you have anything else?
Well, I kind of go along with Kara and with Rachel as far as the wording should be rather than Old Town. I'm not too happy to know that it's on private property versus city property. Maybe we can make arrangements there to turn it into city property. I don't know. But I think there's going to be legal ramifications because of that. So I'm wishing we could go back to the old property or to the city property and really see what the actual cost would be to go in and put what we thought was needed there. This is something that our chairperson at the time was Richard Ponce. His dream was to bring that interest that we had at the beginning of our gateway here, which was on Highway 101, bring that back down into town where we see it in movies and what have you, to recap that. And I think the design that Rachel brought in pretty much indicates that. And again, it does advertise the area, it does advertise the mission. It's really the mission that's going to give us the gateway to the rest of the town. And that's where we need to go with this as far as my vote goes, as far as that goes. I'd like to hear more of that as far as what we can do with that property that already belongs to the city and see if what the cost is. And I'm hoping that we can get that information for the town, for the city, for the staff here to mull over as far as where the cost could go, being we have $25,000 and what have you. Because, like I said, I think we need to attract people into the city, and the gateway to that would be the entrance that you see there, and having some kind of a monument saying that really sheds light on the spirit of this town is exactly what we need there. And I like the idea that's been looked at as far as the roundabouts going on 156 and the entrance too. I think we need to keep working that over till we get something designed for that. But if we're going to do that, I'm hoping that it's a coordinated effort, that what you see at one roundabout, you're pretty much going to see, or you're going to see a better surprise or something unique that will re-advertise our town. So I'm looking forward to see where we're going to end up with this.
Okay, Ms. Brewer, do you have any other comments?
I'd like to see us be consistent with what we've done in the past, just to keep that history going, and I love that city of history. That has always been very striking to me. I'd like to see that. And I don't have any problem with it being on private property as long as we could do it like a deeded access or something like that to, from the owner to, in perpetuity, for that to always belong to the city. But I like the idea of advertising the businesses too. I really like, just promote everything that's going on within the original scope of what we've done so far.
Okay. Mr. Friels, you have any other comments?
Like I said before, I like the existing sign.
That's fine.
I think we're all drove by, I went, yeah, that's brilliant. That should have been done
existing sign too.
100 years ago. Well, it probably was somewhere similar 100 years ago. I mean, it looks like 100 years ago plus. But after seeing the original proposal, that I guess was approved, but now it's not going to go because we're not going to do it on the city property.
Well, we haven't decided completely yet.
Yeah, no, I know, but and I can see how that would exceed $25,000. I don't know. I got to look at them some more.
You want a little more time with this?
I don't think that the mixing, the adobe and the ranch, or the, the farm style or ranch style is gonna be too conflicting, because this whole town is done like that. I mean, we have adobe, we have ranch style, we have 4 or 5 different designs in town that were pretty prominent, so I don't think there's gonna be too big of a thing. My only concern is and it's hard to tell just by a sketch, if it's gonna look, how it's gonna pop, how it's gonna catch the eye, and I'm concerned about the plaques, because if we have like 10 plaques there and there's only 3 businesses that are on the 10 plaques, it kind of looks like we're a skeleton town, but hopefully we can fill them all. That's just my concerns.
Okay, good concerns. I too like the City of History, because it is our brand, and I would prefer that.
So would I, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Because it is, we are the City of History. I do like the idea that you're going to change the font more to like I like that other font much better than this one. I don't have problems with listing the businesses. I just don't know that it should be attached to the same sign. I know that when I go down 101 and I hit the San Miguel sign, it says Old San Miguel. And I like just the fact that, hey, I know I'm here, and to me it pops out quite a bit. And, set it aside as this is the City of History, but then over here, here's some of our businesses. It could still be a separate entity, kind of thing. As far as visibility, I do think that the windmill property is much more visible than the other property would be. But, I do want to make sure that all the I's are dotted and T's crossed as far as liabilities or accessibilities are and all that kind of stuff, so that there's not a lot of mix-ups down the road. And that's probably one of the reasons why I'd like to just have another courtesy conversation with the San Juan committee about this, so we can maybe, yes, you want to say something?
Courtesy review?
Courtesy review, yes, thank you.
Darlene, are you talking about coming back for the whole planning commission?
No, I'm just talking about having a discussion off to the side, yes. A subcommittee of the planning commission talk to you guys.
Okay.
Okay?
It's interesting you mentioned the San Miguel sign, because you mentioned, I was thinking earlier, I always see that San Miguel sign, I always see it when I go down 101.
Yeah.
Never stopped in San Miguel.
But they have a really good brewery there, if I'm remember right.
Yeah. Well, maybe they should.
Kind of like one of the best in the country, but yeah.
Well, they should.
Well, what's in San Miguel, anyway?
It's a cool, I
have
stopped there, so
There's some wineries a little bit farther south, I know.
You can use your restrooms.
I'm pretty sure. Is it 805 there? I thought 805 was there.
Well, there's another mission there, the San Miguel mission.
Yeah.
So in any case, yeah, I would like to have a courtesy review and just sit down with you guys and just, talk about this some more so we can.
Okay.
And with some of I would like a copy of that resolution too for the original sign, just to take a look at that.
Let me see if I can find that for you.
And
Yeah.
you want to look at the developer contract.
Yes. And
Development
thank you.
agreement, okay.
And the developer contract, because I want to make sure all of that is okay. And maybe some ideas about how to write the language with Mr. Gibson over the property use. Just some ideas.
I'll review the findings and see what we come up with.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, with that, what is our next thing on the agenda is report from planner or current and upcoming projects. Do you have any reports? That's our pull-out pages, huh?
See, ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Commission, as you know, we've been keeping our list, the 11 by 17 sheet here that's in your packet, and it's the latest one as of August 1st. Increased activity with the Rancho Vista, and moving forward, I just sent some information over to the Hillside Vistas Development Group, that's the D'Ambrosia. They just asked about what kind of things need to be turned in at this time, what does city need to process this, and I sent them the information. It's the final map application, what they need. Also, when they went through the last time around, when they went through their first final map for the first 8 lots, they applied for building permits, but they were applied for, but they never went anywhere, so they pretty much expired. So right now, it's a discussion with the city manager and our building division to see if they can be reinstated or if they have to start over again for the first 8 lots, because that's the first final map approved. So anyway, the next phase is to finish it out for all 27 lots.
What's the municipal code say on that, as far as if a permits expire?
Yeah, that's based on.
Do they come back to? I mean, are we going to have to do it all over again?
Well,
because it's kind of starting from fresh. I mean.
Well, the final map still stands. That's all been recorded. I'm talking about the building permits that were filed for those 8 lots in that. That is where it's up to discussion amongst city staff, including the city manager and the building official, to see if we can reinstate those permits. However, though, from what I understand, from cross-checking with our permit technician, I believe it's only about 3 months or 6 months, I believe, for the life of a permit. So that was done a couple years ago. They've since expired, and we have the applications on file. So that's a discussion. It's been a couple years old, so we'll have to really have some serious discussion, to have them start over. But we need to kind of begin from scratch, because the project has been on hold for a couple years. So we need to go back through, see what our masters and our architecture that's all been approved. And so as of right now, it's being discussed. I sent them the information about the final map application to get that finished out. So that way it's showing all 27 lots.
Okay.
Phase 1 was already done, through the final map, and Phase 2 takes care of the remainder lots, which is like another 19 or so if I'm doing my math right, up to 27.
So they'll come back for the second phase will come back again.
To the final map, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I asked if you had to go through this again, because already a planning commission sat through it all. They volunteered their time to be here. The developer, did his or her thing. I don't want any of our time wasted.
Understood.
Because we volunteer it. And if this development group can't get their act together, then, it gets a little frustrating.
Understood. I understand that.
Because they are supposed to be professionals. So it'd be nice to see this thing go and either go away or go ahead. But this dangling stuff over, this is, we got to finish. There's a bunch of stuff needs to be finished. That way we can.
Yes, we can move forward.
Yeah.
I understand. Also, I would like just for our edification to review some of what they are going to be putting in there. Some of the plans that they have, because I'm not real familiar with this project, and so.
What we could do is...
Some of the background information?
Is go, because what I did was I did a clean out of the files. I reorganized them. And there was a lot of stuff in there that was like duplicates. Obviously the things I kept, of course, the environmental documents, the CEQA documents, those are key. Those are like our vital type stuff. Right. But what we can do is we can show you what we have on file. We can do that like as a unofficial, just meeting one-on-one, or we can come back to the next meeting and we can show you what's already been in the file in terms of architecture, design, and how the lot layout is.
Okay.
Can I ask Dave a question? David, did you see this when this project? Were you?
Yeah.
Were you?
Yeah. The first phase is just 3rd Street.
Yeah. But do you remember you did the design review, the whole works?
Yeah.
Saw that? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's worth going over it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Just to come back.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if they're taking all this time to get this thing going, and we're being patient, I think we need to review that, make sure that, we need to put oversight on it.
How'd you get that?
I asked him for it.
Understood.
I think you would want that.
He's just doing it.
So, it'd be nice if we get a start date.
Yes. Well, one of the things, if I could just continue to comment on that, when we met with them before a couple months ago, they did say by mid-August they should have their situation squared away, because that's what they were telling us. They're trying to get stuff squared away on their end, including their funding, lending, and so forth. I mean, I can't go into details on that because, a lot that I don't know. But they did say by August they will follow up with us when they're ready to submit, and sure enough, they did. This was just last week. They have. So they kind of kept with that time frame right now. So I just want to kind of get shut down.
Okay, submitted.
Cool. Actually, no submittal yet. They just asked the question, staff, what do you need from us at this time? So there's no formal submittal.
Okay.
No formal submittal.
But they're asking about it.
They're asking about it, yes, ma'am.
Good to know. All right. Anything else that we should know about this?
That's pretty much all I have about that project.
Okay. Anything else that has changed that we should probably know about?
Right now, as you can see, this is came out back on August 1st in the lower right-hand corner. Commissioner Brewer asked about changing the text or doing some modifications to the text. We've already started kind of playing with that a little bit, and so by your next meeting, you should be seeing a difference, plus online too. That'll be the first one online.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm glad that you're going to make this accessible to the public.
Yeah, so that way you can see things are always ongoing and see how things are changing.
Helps with our transparency, and it helps me to explain things to people.
Well, it quells the rumor mill that seems to run this town a bit more than electricity does.
All you have to do is call City Hall.
Well, right now, all they have to do.
Seriously, that's all you have to do.
That's all you have to do.
But, yeah.
But it doesn't happen.
But that doesn't happen, that's why I want it on the website. Then I can send them a link. Okay.
Question about the brewery?
Sure, go right ahead.
The brewery, have you heard anything from?
I was actually just going to comment on that. You kind of read my mind there, Commissioner Friedels.
Well, I think about breweries often.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I kind of have some interesting news about the brewery. First off, as you know, I've been in contact with the family that owns it, the Sertas. But I did have a meeting last week with a prospective tenant, possibly owner. He's only kind of researching it. He is interested. We still need to kind of get him and the owner together. We're kind of working out those negotiations. But he wishes, and he has the idea about turning the brewery into a dance hall, country western theme. More of along the lines of like a Nashville, Texas, Southwest type theme, where it would be country music, live dancing, possibly food, and so forth. I think since the brewery is big enough, and it has a good location, it might not be a bad idea. That is basically staff's initial assessment at this time. However, I haven't spoken, directly with the owners yet. I've only left them phone messages asking them, telling them about this new inquiry and asking them to get back with me. And that's where we are right now.
Okay.
So that would be something that would require a commission review, because the latest resolution I have on file is that the commission revoke the site design and review. I don't have the resolution number offhand right now, but it was revoked at that time. So the work is basically on hold right now. So either way, whether if the Sertas want to continue or if this new use is proposed, it would have to come back to the planning commission for a review to get it reinstated and to get the building permit reviews moving. I mean, I don't know if the commission at this point has any comments on that, but I will say we talked it over internally, and it sounds like it kind of fits the theme of the community, but that's based on initial assessment. I don't want to state opinions too soon.
We'll wait until they come forward with something.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Go ahead.
I wonder about the gas station at the Alameda in 156. It says that the staff is taking a look at that to see if it could be resurrected. Is that being done or in the process?
I need to follow up with you at the next few days or so. I can follow up with the commission on that. Right now, I haven't had a chance to really go through in detail about it. So I feel more comfortable explaining it in a later time, either by email or we can talk on the phone, but I'll do by email. That way it's all there.
Fair enough.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, Casa Rosa.
Casa Rosa, you want to know more about Casa Rosa? Okay. Our public wishes to know about Casa Rosa.
Okay, let me see if I can give some information on that. Staff did have a meeting with the applicant of Casa Rosa. It was back on Monday, July 30th, we had a meeting with them. And we heard their side of the story. They discussed it with us about the review and how things went about, at this point. But we definitely stressed that what we need to do to get it back into compliance and our concerns as a city. We also want to hear his concerns or their concerns as well, but also how it ended up. It was basically information that was given about, the historic review, and then also just the funding issue on his end. There was things that took place on his end that were, caused hardship. So, with information, trying to work with the city and with the guidance and all that. Granted, I'm only going based on what we were told. So anyway, that is the latest information right now. We wanted to establish communication and establish the dialogue to help solve this and bring this back into, basically bring the building back into its original state. So that's where we are right now. Right now, I feel comfortable just talking generically about it right now because this is being worked out with our fire district and our building official, and as well as our city manager. Our city manager kind of spearheaded the effort. So anyway, I did speak with the architect who worked with the applicant, and we'd like to probably talk it over internally with the city manager. So that's the information I could provide at this time. I just want to say we had a meeting with them back at the end of July, and that's where we are right now.
Okay. I would like to add another item to this list. I know that...
Could I ask one question?
Sure, go ahead.
So are they no longer selling the building?
That one I think is still a question mark. I don't want to say like yay or nay to that. That's still kind of a question mark. He did state that he has interest in getting it fixed up accordingly, so before it can be ready to sell.
Yeah, he stated that once before too, so it's just...
I don't want to sit there.
I don't think he quite realizes how disturbed, I'm going to try to be, how disturbed this community is.
Yes.
And I, if it was a hardship thing, of course I feel for the applicants, and I hope that folks take a big deep breath and hopefully, show a little sympathy if he did have some issues, he or she. But I just want to say that for the public record, there's a lot of people upset in this town.
Yes, there are.
So.
Yes, thank you very much, Scott. That needs to be stated. And I would also like to state something similar about the Chalmer House, because that has been overlooked far too long. And since it seems to be a demolition by neglect now, I really want to put this on the list as to what's going forward with that and how we're pursuing that. Because I've been getting emails from Ms. Vaughn and Ms. Gaber about little checklists and what demolition by neglect actually means and all the kinds of things that go with that. And I think that really needs to be reviewed too and looked into, because from the photographs you showed us at the last meeting, I was very disturbed. And we have just recently gotten some more information. I think Vonda Bear sent some more information about Mr. Chalmers too.
Yes.
That we have 3 more pieces of historical information about him that are actually going to go in our museum. So.
I was copied on those emails. I'd have to review them though to get up to speed and get familiar. I have met on my own, and as well as staff, with the current property owner at 70 McKellamey. He's only owned it, this is the information I was told, he's only owned it for just a couple years. So it sounded like this was something that was inherited. However, he has plans for the property, and he'd like to have something done with the property. But I did say that in order for this to move forward, we will need a thorough report to indicate the condition of the house. Can it be salvaged, yes or no? We need that, and we need to build a case, going either direction.
That's right.
And we need to bring that back to HRB Planning Commission at some point.
Yes.
It needs to be dealt with because it is a clear and present health and public safety issue. So we need to figure out a discussion on that, and we need to kind of show something that's a good gesture, to the community. So if you want to do this development for your property, that's great, but we need to incorporate this somehow, and create like a, whether it be a monument, whether it be something, whether it be the case may be. These are just kind of brainstorming issues, because I wanted to meet with them and just go up front, and talk it over. So that's where we are right now. I've met with them, I spoke with them, that's saying we have some concerns on this, and we need to get this thing moving forward. So anyway, that's where we are right now. We can, I need to look over the emails because they came within the last, day or so, a couple days. But I have them, and I got the information about demolition by neglect and so forth, and that's where we are right now.
Okay, but just put it on your list. Even if we have to go to.
That place has been, hasn't been inhabited in 20 some odd years.
Yeah, but there are some. There's some recourse that we can probably take on something there.
They wanted us to, owners 25 years ago wanted us to burn it. The fire department do a training burn and burn it down. And back then, that was almost 25 years ago. And even then, I was like, no, it's not safe enough to even do that. So it's been in bad shape for a long, long time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Let's see. The next thing on our list is, so we got all the upcoming projects. Let's go to the Strategic Planning Committee reports. Do we have anybody to report from the Strategic Planning Committee? Or are you doing that?
I think I'll go ahead and assume it real quick.
Did they ask to be on the...
It's really like if we have anything that may, that commission may need to know about or anything like that. Right now, I have in my notes when I was there, just to discuss, and this kind of relates into what I'm going to talk about in just a few minutes, because I do have a report that I'd like to give to commission that covers all the pending questions that were given out last meeting, and I have a response to that. I emailed it out to the commission just before tonight's meeting and all that. I should have done that a few weeks ago, and I do apologize for that. So anyway, but it's right now just to discuss several things. Really is that to discuss with city staff about a possible farmers market, to bring that to get that rolling, and look into stuff of what needs to be done to help out, so forth. And also in my case, what I'm looking into is a certain website called the Weebly website, to bring that up to speed about sharing information and all that. I just recently got the credentials to go and log into it, and that's all. I'll go and start kind of playing with it and see what I can do with that. So that's what I have right now. And also, commissioners, if I can, there was a question raised about the hierarchy and about where the Strategic Planning Committee fits in from City Council to Planning Commission to any of the committees, and where does the Strategic Planning Committee come in? I'd like to maybe talk a little bit about that, if I may.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Anyway, the relationship to the Strategic Planning Committee, in order to make sure there's no conflict and overlap, is a request that a legal opinion be provided. City staff spoke with the city attorney about this matter. Based on discussion and review, the following information describes the relationship between the Strategic Planning Committee and the Planning Commission. The discussion of the power between the SPC and PC, just want to abbreviate the words, is not a question of hierarchy. It's a question of whether or not a project/activity falls within the review jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. If so, Planning Commission needs to review accordingly. The SPC reports directly to the City Council. There is no conflict between the SPC and the PC. In recent conversations, if a courtesy review is requested from any of the committees for PC to review an item, it can be arranged. PC can then make the determination of further review or if an action item is necessary. And just let me just clarify the abbreviations. SPC stands for Strategic Planning Committee. PC stands for Planning Commission.
Okay, and that would also include the Historic Resources Board?
Correct.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
HRB/Planning Commission,
yes,
or PC.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. All right. With the farmers market, is there a location that's being
I think right now, there's no location that I can recall right now at this time. Right now, it's about working with local farmers to participate right now.
Doesn't sound like it's ready for us. Okay, did you have a comment?
I was referring back to what we were talking about before about the strategic planning committee. How will we know if everything goes to the city council without coming here? How would we know if it's something that we want to have fleshed out for us and have a discussion item here?
That'd have to be discussed, right, starting with the strategic planning committee, but also council does have, the ability, like if something, this is something I was told, part of my review here, that if it is a project about land use, and is it land use specific, that's when council has the authority to kick it down to planning commission and say, get planning commission's review, get their recommendation, then come back and talk to us accordingly.
And I think there's a state regulation on there too.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
well, I'm getting somebody to look it up for me.
Him?
So,
The guy we pay?
yes, him and somebody else, so. Yeah, I would like to know if there's a state regulation that if it does involve land use and stuff, that it automatically goes to planning commission. And HRB if it's historic. Okay. At this point, is that it for the strategic planning?
That's it for the strategic planning committee, yes, ma'am.
Report? Okay. There's no public comment for this part, so planning commissioners, do you have any further comments? Mr. Friels?
I just want to thank Todd for, you're clearing up a lot of, muck. And it's nice, and people are starting to hear this, so it's good. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the kind words. I'm trying. We're all trying here.
I personally, I think you're doing a great job, so thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you're welcome.
Ms. Brewer?
I'd like to second that. Appreciate all that. You're a great communicator, and I really appreciate that.
Okay.
Third that.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so, and also Carol for your input and your information too, so, a lot of stuff.
Okay,
So
tongue in
hopefully
cheek,
we'll-
I'm going to say we'll get you a jacuzzi to go with that cot.
No,
Is that for the record now?
Tongue in cheek.
don't be fucking her for a raise or anything, but just know so you're making us happy, so.
Yes, you're doing a very, very good job. I like the transparency and I like the thoroughness, and because we need to be brought up to speed on a lot of this stuff, and so educating us is never an issue. City planner, do you have anything else you want to say?
Well, I'd like to continue on with my list here, my report. And I promise, commissioners, I will try to get the stuff, like if there's anything pending, to get to you at a sooner matter. It's just, or, earlier time. It's just that things have been pretty busy over the last, several weeks and all that. So, you got a lot of stuff.
Well, we can't imagine. Be busy.
Okay. But anyway, I wanted to ask a question first to Commissioner Friels. Because I know the next item, we haven't gotten to it yet, but the city manager, I just wanted to ask a question. Is it requested by Commissioner Friels or the commission? Would you like the city manager here or the city attorney or anything like that?
Oh, this is the second meeting that, and I don't know if that's how most cities do it. I mean, I would think that we'd have some.
Well, I think at this time,
just only because when the questions like the money and things like that come up, I mean, it's.
Yeah, who's answering for that?
Yeah, who's answering? I mean, you're not chasing the finances. I mean, you've got your plate full enough. So I just curious if.
Like I said, understood, and in a lot of cities, with planning commission, it's usually the planning director and sometimes the city attorney, if they choose to step in if they think it's necessary. And I think it just depends on the item. Of course, back in June, when we heard that minor subdivision, for instance, that required all of us to be there and answer questions. So it kind of depends on the item, really. If it's a light agenda, then we'll have just light staff, light talk, that kind of thing. But definitely in questions that are pending, that's where we need to follow up and respond back to you accordingly. And then copy the people that are on there, for obviously on the record. So I just wanted to ask that question first. It was just in my mind.
No, well, I think you pretty much answered it. If it's something that may be, I don't say controversial, but something difficult, then we probably should have, the CEO here, so to speak. So, all right, thank you.
Okay. Let's see if I can just go ahead and continue with the
Yes.
the comments by myself, the city planner here, because I'd like to fill you all in. Okay. It was discussed by the Planning Commission that a professional sign maker contractor be hired when signs for public buildings, facilities, or facilities are needed. City manager is looking into that at this time. Also, it was discussed that staff changed the text to either new color or format when updating the weekly project log. Staff is looking into either bolding the new text or writing it in different colors when updates are made and placed on the city website accordingly, on a regular basis. Staff is working on getting the website underway and placing new material online at this time, meaning that, information that just came up just, in the last few days. So that where it's all there. So, yeah, definitely I've just been cleared to go ahead and, go do the website. Now I just need to go through and get the proper items taken care of. Okay, next thing. A question is asked by the Planning Commission about the status of the old lumberyard / long building located at McKelemy Street next to the Valero gas station. Staff's findings include the following. The address is at 50 Monterey. Also, there's an address located there at 61 McKelemy as well that it was able to be discussed. And the building does have activity taking place, and code enforcement is looking into it. It will need to be done in a joint effort. Right now, we cannot find any record of a business license or anything like that that's been issued by the city. Okay, next item, food carts / mobile food vendors were discussed. Staff presented language from our city code addressing the requirements. The information is found in section 7-4140 of the municipal code. Staff researched the city of Gilroy for their code section and it is included, meaning that it's included in the email that I sent back to you. You'll be seeing that later on when you check your emails. Let me just say something about the city of Gilroy. They actually do have a pretty thorough process. It's what's called a temporary use permit. I think it's heard and decided upon by their city, and I want to say their city planning commission, but I can't recall, swear to it right off the bat. But also, once the city planning gets done with it, then it goes to their police department for final review. And that includes routes, how the business is going to operate, so forth and so forth. It really has to go.
We don't have a police department.
So I just want to give that information out in the open. That's all I have right now at this time about that. Of course, more information to follow. Okay, next item. It was asked if street names within the Copperleaf development can be changed. Staff has looked into that and plans to meet internally along with the San Juan Bautista Historical Society to meet and discuss street names and the next steps in that process. Okay, the next item.
Question on that. So is it something that can be changed as opposed to just one, street number 1, street number 2, or however they have them? I mean, can we change the names on that?
I did have a generic discussion, just a quick discussion with our city engineer. The thing is about is the final map has already been recorded, already signed off and recorded in the Mylar copy already. Street names are included, from after, trying to picture it in my mind. And so I don't know if it's too late. That's something that we'll have to ask. We'll have to check into. But I don't know, it would require an amendment to the final map, where it has to be redone and re-recorded on it. Because we're talking Mylar copies that have already been signed and recorded.
Yeah. I mean, before you find that, I might as well find that out first before you waste any time.
You mean recorded with the county?
Yes, sir. Yes. Recorded with the county. Yeah.
That's, I know that on record, they said that they were going to be willing to put different names on that. Mm-hmm. We had a meeting, and in that meeting it was stated by the developers that they would be willing to change, to include names that we would choose.
Back when it went through the planning commission? Because I know there was some, I wasn't part of this process, that was before, but I understand it was, not very clear.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm using the right word.
I know, I don't know what's on record.
Yeah.
I do recall that I brought it up as a matter of fact, and they said at that time that they were going to do it. That's not a problem, they said.
Let me go ahead and put this in my notes. I'm going to have to go back and track down the minutes and the film and all that and just see what was said for the record.
That's a good idea.
I'd like to do that, and because, if it's like Mylar copy or, recorded and street names are on there, I don't know if that's set in stone or if there's still room to change,
Yes, thank you.
I would say it's probably, there's room for change because there's no addresses given yet. So it's not like it's been entered into the 911 CAD or anything like that yet, so.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, and then the addresses have been formed and it's in the, if it's in the 911 CAD and all that kind of stuff, then that's gonna be a nightmare, so changing names.
Let me just finish up with my note here.
Okay. Good to know.
Okay, I think I got it. Okay, so let's see, I got that. Question mark? Okay, next item. A question came up about taking a red tag down off a building that has been deemed in violation or unsafe per city review. He was basically being directed, referring to by the Casa Rosa building. It was also asked if a real estate agent were to do so, can that be grounds for revoking a business license? After checking with building staff in the municipal code, the removal of a red tag without city authorization is unlawful and is punishable by fine up to $500 and/or imprisonment by up to 6 months in the county jail. This is per section 10-1-120 of the municipal code.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next thing. How many more do I have? Let's see, I have a few more. Almost done here.
You're doing well.
Okay, a question came up about the new stop signs located in Old San Juan Hollister Road. Those signs are located at both the intersections that enter the Copperleaf development. They were installed based on the necessary reviews. These signs were to address the traffic and safety concerns along the roadway. Per section 7-1-510 of the municipal code, the city manager is authorized to place the signs accordingly. Okay, the next thing, the topic of fences was discussed. There was discussion about the requirements in height and location. Per both sections 10-1-505 and 11-04070J of the municipal code, fences must be no higher than 3 feet in height in the front yards of residential properties and no more than 6 feet in the rear and side areas. No permits are necessary for these. Fences are allowed to be up to 8 feet when subject properties are adjacent to commercial or industrial properties. Permits are required in those instances. A large fence in the front of the property along 6th Street was discussed, and a course of action city staff will take to address the matter. Staff has looked into it, and there will be an inventory done of old fences throughout the city that have similar issues. Staff will discuss the next steps after the inventory is complete. Okay, last one.
What about that particular property?
I think that was the one I was referring to.
Yeah, so nothing's happening.
Right now,
They're doing an inventory.
yeah, an inventory because of information gathered. This is what I've been told after discussing this with city staff, is that an inventory of fences of similar nature, that have similar situations, are basically being inventoried on. And then we'll discuss, okay, do we grant these, whether it be a variance, whether we, look at the code again, or whether or not we have to bring them into compliance. That's what the next course of action.
Over one fence, we're doing a whole inventory.
Maybe get a legal interpretation of that.
We could probably do that, okay?
Okay. Yes, over one fence. A lot of concern over that one fence, believe it or not.
Okay, all right. We can go ahead and look into that and just see what the result was.
Thank you.
There. Okay. All right. Last one. A question came up about the sewage treatment facility and its potential impact on the proposed Hillside Vistas development with respect to odor. Staff reviewed this, and further analysis is expected. The sludge is the main contributor to the odor. The removal process is underway, and more information should be discussed at the City Council meeting in September. More information will follow.
In September.
So that's pretty much all the information I have at this point, and I'm sure we'll be discussing this more.
Okay.
I also have my notes here for
the manager. Okay. All right. Did you want to move on to the city managers?
Absolutely. Madam Chair, members of the commission, I have no report from the city manager tonight.
Okay, thank you. Has anybody moved to Is there any other questions or comments before we adjourn? Does anybody move that we adjourn?
So move.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? We have adjourned. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
And thank you for coming. Especially the public.
Yes, exactly, in public, yes.
Volunteering.
Wait,
Right, right.
wait, am I still?